Colin, lovely to see you.
Thank you.
You've been here in Australia for about 18 months.
That's right.
And you're the head of Vanguard in Australia.
That's right.
But you have a very long history with Vanguard. You've been with Vanguard for 26 years, 27 in February. What's the reason that someone like you stays with a company like Vanguard for so long?
Yeah, I just got a job coming out of university. It's my high school economics teacher told me about Vanguard. It was very small at the time. Vanguard wasn't in any textbooks, never heard of it. I just got a job. And I somewhat immediately fell in love with the place because at first everyone seemed really nice. In fact, everyone 26 years later is still really nice. But you start to learn pretty quickly that the company actually meant something and stood for something. And success aside, you get a little addicted to having something that you can grasp onto and say, we have a reason for being. We're different than others. And that's what's really kept me here all those years. I just couldn't imagine working somewhere else and in a non-mutual structure. And
so what's the difference between a mutual structure and other, so say other big brands that you would know about in the funds management industry? What's different about Vanguard's structure to those?
Well, our clients are our owners. So there's no one else that's making any money. I mean, we get paid a salary, of course, but no one's making any money other than our clients because they're at the actual owners. So other companies could have stockholders. You buy their stock on the ASX.
And they're listed in the exchange.
And they're listed on the exchange. And
yep.
so the job is to actually make money for those people
yep.
and the clients. Or maybe it's a private firm owned by a family or something and they're in it to make money. Here it's the clients own it. So we never have that discussion as to, well, who's making money here. It's always the owner, which is the client. When they're the same person, it becomes really clear.
So Jack Bogle was the founder, and he founded it in the 1970s. And indexing at the time was not a concept anyone was familiar with. And my understanding was that it took him quite a long time to get anyone enthusiastic about investing that way. Why did it take so long to become popular?
Well, when Jack started Vanguard, he was really clear. In fact, it goes back to his thesis in college that says that it should be all about the client. It's not the money manager making money, it's about the client should be making money. And the industry had kind of gone awry and all these fees, everyone else was making money except for the people whose actually it was their investment.
Well, there's that famous book, Where Are the Clients' Yachts?
Right.
That story about,
that's right.
That's the hedge fund manager, that's the foreign exchange manager, that's whatever. That's all their beautiful luxury yachts, but there's none for the clients because there's nothing left for them.
Absolutely. So when he started Vanguard, it was very clear he wanted low cost. It was all about the client. That was a mutual structure. But there was no indexing, and Vanguard was active management. In fact, we're still very large active managers. We do it low cost and focused, and we do it the Vanguard way.
But you don't have much active management in Australia.
We don't have much active management in Australia yet. We're actually thinking about it.
Okay, interesting.
But we do it the Vanguard way, which is different than a lot of others. And a couple years after Jack founded the firm, he decided to try an experiment and launch the first publicly available index fund because it fit with his principles. Low cost, diversification, risk tolerance that match the risk tolerance of the client. You can't beat people, active money managers, year in, year out on a consistent basis. It's really fit with his values more than anything else. And it was really slow to start. It was deemed un-American.
Because it's not heading for the average rather than heading for the stars.
The average.
Yeah.
That's right. But of course, 40 years later, we find out that actually it's not the average, it beats the average. Sure, it matches the market, but it beats, sometimes 89%, 90% of active managers on a regular basis. So it's not really the average, it's somewhat the exception. And then it just kind of, it a bit snowballed from there, but it took a long time to grab a hold. And of course, other managers that weren't indexed were selling against it and talking against it and marketing against it and calling Jack Bogle anti-American and all this sort of, and of course, 40 years later, it's quite a different story.
When you think of a mutual structure in the Australian context, you sort of think about sleepy, almost a public service mentality. And my experience of Vanguard has been quite different to that. It's quite dynamic. It attracts and retains really good people. How have you been able to keep that sort of for-profit mentality imbued in the culture while still maintaining that drive to benefit members?
Well, I think Vanguard, I like to think of Vanguard's been around 40 years, but I like to think Vanguard's just kind of just reaching our 20s. Like, we still don't know what we don't know yet. We're still we're still striving, and we're still hungry to get out there because we think there's a lot of people that could benefit from having Vanguard as a manager of their money. So it's that drive and ambition that says there's many more people to reach that keeps us going. And of course the market changes. It's a really dynamic place. And when Vanguard started, there was no divisions, if you will, but there was some retail client somewhere, some direct client. And of course we've added international, we've added institutions in the US, and financial advisors are now the largest business that we have in the US is financial advisors using our products, where 10 years ago it was virtually zero.
So people were finding Vanguard investing directly with you rather than being advised to use your products?
That's right, yes. Yeah, it's certainly on day one, but in the US it changed a lot whenever the fee structure started to change. We would never pay an advisor to sell our stuff because we just thought, because they're just passing on that cost to somebody else. But when it started to change and those fees changed, then people started to look at Vanguard and said, well, it would be really beneficial if I used your funds in my portfolio. And that's just, that's obviously blown, and certainly something, as you would know, we're doing here in Australia and doing very well.
So finally, I had the opportunity to sit next to your global chairman, Bill McNabb, when he was here in Australia a year or so ago. And one of the things that really struck me is it's a very culturally strong, culturally pure institution. And one of the things he talked about was how important mindset is, and having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So rather than thinking that you've got fixed abilities and you do the best you can, you think, well, you can always expand the things that you can be good at. Does that pervade the whole organisation?
It absolutely pervades the whole organization. And you see it come out in business strategies. Our Australia business is a fine example of that. Vanguard could probably do fine if we weren't in Australia, but Australia is a fantastic country. There's like a lot of people that can benefit from having Vanguard there, but it's a growth mindset that takes us to say we're going to go there and do business in Australia. And I tell the people that work for me, you're never done learning. If you feel like you're done learning, you're not going to do well at Vanguard because we're not set yet. We haven't figured it all out. We're still trying to figure it out. And if you have that mindset that it will be different tomorrow than it is today, but as long as we stick to our principles, we'll be fine. That's a bit that growth mindset as well.
Well, it's great to spend some time with you. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.